everyone. Welcome to a deep dive. And this one's going to make you rethink how you move and exercise and eat.
Where?
We're going to be looking at the InfloFit method.
Okay.
And also a really interesting article from Healthline called "You Can't Exercise Your Way Out of an Unhealthy Diet."
Yeah, I think this is a topic that has way more nuance to it than people realize.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really surprising connections.
For sure. We're going to be asking questions like, is calories in, calories out really the whole story?
Mm-hmm.
And can you really outrun a bad diet?
Mm-hmm.
And what does high quality eating, what does that actually even look like?
Right.
And how much should we be moving in the first place?
Yeah, there's lots to consider here.
There is.
What really struck me, I think, early on in all of this was this idea of a movement mismatch.
Okay.
And the InfloFit method brings up the World Health Organization saying 60 to 80% of us aren't moving nearly enough.
Wow.
Like, that's a huge chunk of the global population.
That is alarming. You think with all this fitness information out there, we all be like super active.
Right.
Why is that not the case?
Well, the book argues, like, our bodies haven't quite caught up to our modern lifestyles, right?
Mm.
We evolved for this kind of a fast feast pattern, meaning we were designed to, like, move a lot
Okay.
with these, like, short bursts of, like, really intense activity.
Okay, so our ancestors were out there hunting and gathering, not sitting for hours on end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I can relate to that.
Yeah. I'm already getting, just from this deep dive, I'm already like thinking about how much I sit during the day.
It's a common issue, but I think the InfloFit method makes a great point about making this distinction between, like, movement versus exercise.
Okay.
It's not just about, like, hitting the gym.
Right.
It's about building more movement into our everyday routines.
Yeah.
Like, even those little things really add up.
Yeah. I was noticing that the book talks about, like, walking more, taking the stairs, even just, like, doing your chores with a little more energy. You know, it's like tricking your body into being more active, you know, without realizing you're working out.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you're consistently incorporating more of this movement into your routine, it can offset a lot of those negative effects of sitting for long stretches.
Okay, so that brings us to this intriguing idea from the InfloFit method, which is the exercise illusion.
Right.
Which is basically challenging this classic advice that we always hear to just eat less, move more. And I've struggled with that my whole life. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, our bodies actually evolved to resist weight loss, right?
Really?
It was a survival mechanism for our ancestors when food was scarce.
Oh, okay.
They needed to, like, hold on to those calories.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So even if I'm hitting the gym regularly, my body's like working against me, trying to conserve those calories.
It could be.
So it makes you wonder if you can ever really out-exercise a bad diet, right?
That's a really good question. I think the InfloFit method really digs into that.
Yeah.
Like, it's really easy to fall into the trap of, you know, I burned 800 calories at the gym so I can have that burger and fries.
Oh, I've been there.
Right.
But it sounds like that kind of thinking might be, like, backfiring.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, like, our ancestors didn't exercise to burn calories.
Right.
They moved to survive.
Right.
So it wasn't about aesthetics or anything like that.
Right.
It was about getting food, avoiding danger.
Yeah.
So it's totally, like, different.
It makes you realize how much our modern perception of exercise has shifted.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear more about this whole exercise illusion and what it means for us today.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about how our bodies are, like, hardwired to hold on to these calories, but what does that mean for us who are, you know, trying to be healthy in today's world?
Right. Yeah. It's an important question, and it's kind of a paradigm shift from how we traditionally approach weight management, I think.
Yeah.
Like, the InfloFit method kind of suggests we need to think beyond just that, like, calories in, calories out model.
So if it's not just about calories, then what else should we be focusing on?
Right.
Like, it seems like in the book, it's hinting at, like, a more holistic approach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah?
Like, it really emphasizes understanding our evolutionary history and working with our bodies rather than against them.
I like that. Yeah. So instead of constantly, like, restricting and feeling like we're, you know, battling our own biology, there's a more sustainable way to go about it.
Totally. Yeah. And that's where, like, understanding the distinction between movement and exercise becomes really crucial. It's not just about those intense gym sessions.
Yeah. And we were talking the last part, like, how incorporating more movement into our daily lives is key. But how does that fit into this whole, like, evolutionary perspective?
Well, think about it. Like, our ancestors didn't have these, like, designated workout times.
Right.
They were constantly on the move, foraging, hunting, building, exploring.
So we need to find ways to like mimic that constant movement in our modern lives.
Exactly, yeah. And that's where this concept of NEAT comes in, non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Okay, neat. I haven't heard of that. What is that?
So it's essentially all the calories you burn doing activities that aren't like formal exercise.
Oh, okay.
So think walking, taking the stairs, fidgeting, gardening, even just like doing chores around the house.
Oh, so even if I don't have time for like a full workout, just like being more active throughout the day can help me burn more calories.
Totally. And the Inflow Fit method like has all these like practical ways to boost your NEAT. Like one tip I loved was setting a timer to like get up and walk around every hour.
Okay.
Even if it's just for a minute or two.
I've actually started doing that recently. I have to say, I feel so much better. Like I used to just sit at my desk all day and get like stiff and sluggish, but I feel more energized throughout the day now.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's proof that even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so we've talked a lot about movement. Neat. Let's switch gears and talk about the other side of the equation, diet.
Right.
Like can't outrun a bad diet, right?
Yeah.
That's something that, both the Inflow Fit method and this Healthline article really emphasize. But what does like a good diet even look like?
Right, yeah.
Like Healthline specifically calling out the Mediterranean diet as like kind of a gold standard for health and longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to hear what the Inflow Fit method has to say about diet too.
Yeah, they both kind of are in alignment here.
Okay.
The Inflow Fit method actually recommends a really similar approach, focusing on like whole unprocessed foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats.
So it's less about like calorie counting and more about just choosing like nutrient-rich foods that support our body's natural functions.
Exactly, yeah. And the Inflow Fit method actually like calls it eating for performance, which I kind of love because it shifts the focus away from like restriction and towards nourishment.
Yeah, it's about like fueling your body for the activities that you want to do, whether that's like hiking in the mountains or going to a dance class or just keeping up with your kids.
Absolutely, yeah. The book talks about choosing foods that like provide sustained energy, optimize like hormone balance, reduce inflammation.
Now, I know we touched on the Mediterranean diet like earlier, but can we dive a little deeper into what that actually looks like in practice?
Yeah.
What are like some of the key components?
Yeah, the Healthline article like breaks it down really nicely.
Okay.
It emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and olive oil is like the primary fat source.
Got it.
And they also highlight fish and seafood as important protein sources.
Okay, so it's a pretty plant-forward approach with healthy fats and lean protein. What about things like dairy and meat?
Yeah, it includes moderate amounts of dairy, particularly yogurt and cheese, and it suggests limiting red meat and processed meats.
Okay, so it's not about completely eliminating certain food groups, but it's more about like balance and choosing like the most nutritious options within each category.
Right, exactly. It's about making like sustainable changes that you can stick with for the long haul.
I've been trying to incorporate more Mediterranean style meals into like my week.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I feel so much better. Like I have more energy and I don't get those like sugar crashes that I used to get in the afternoon.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And it's like a testament to the power of like food to impact our energy levels and our overall well-being.
It's like we're rediscovering the simple truth that food is fuel.
Totally, yeah. And the Inflow Fit method takes it even a step further.
Okay.
By emphasizing the importance of mindful eating.
What do you mean by mindful eating?
So it's about like slowing down, paying attention to your food, and savoring each bite. It's about tuning into your body's hunger and fullness cues.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that would help with like portion control and just like making healthier choices. Like if you're really present with your food, you're more likely to like appreciate it and feel satisfied.
Totally. It's about like shifting from this mindless, often emotionally driven way of eating to a more conscious and intuitive approach.
Okay, so we've talked about movement, NEAT, and diet. It seems like all of these pieces kind of fit together to create this like holistic approach to health.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And there's one more important piece we need to discuss. exercise.
Right. We've talked about incorporating more movement into our daily lives, but what about like these dedicated workout sessions? Like how much exercise do we actually need?
Well, both the InflowFit method and the Healthline article recommend aiming for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise.
Okay.
Or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise per week.
Okay, so that might sound like a lot to some people, but I guess it depends on your like current activity level and goals.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Like the InflowFit method encourages finding activities that you enjoy and making them a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel like a chore.
Exactly, yeah. If you enjoy the activity, you're more likely to stick with it.
Right.
And the InflowFit method has some like great tips for finding activities that align with your personality and your preferences.
Okay, so let's talk about some specific types of exercise. What do our sources recommend?
Well, both the InflowFit method and the Healthline article emphasize the importance of like both cardio and strength training.
Okay, so it's not just about like going for runs or hitting the elliptical.
Right, yeah. Strength training is like crucial for building and maintaining muscle mass, which is really important for metabolism, bone health, and just like overall strength and functionality.
You know, I've definitely noticed a difference in like my strength and energy levels since I've started incorporating like more strength training into my routine.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's like something that becomes even more important as we age.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, as we get older, we naturally lose muscle mass. It's a process called sarcopenia.
Okay.
And strength training can really help counteract that loss.
Oh, so it's not just about like aesthetics, but it's about like maintaining our functional strength and independence as we age.
Exactly. And it has so many other benefits too, including improving bone density, boosting metabolism,
Wow.
and reducing the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes.
Okay, so what kind of like strength training exercises do our sources recommend?
Well, they recommend a variety of exercises that target all the major muscle groups.
Okay.
So legs, back, chest, shoulders, arms, and core.
Do you need to like join a gym or have fancy equipment to do strength training?
No, not necessarily. You could use your own body weight, resistance bands, or even household items like water bottles or cans of soup as weights.
Okay, that's good to know. So it makes it accessible to everyone, regardless of like budget or
Yeah.
equipment?
Totally, yeah. And the InflowFit method like provides a lot of examples of like bodyweight exercises you can do at home or even in a park.
Okay, so we've covered movement, NEAT, diet, and exercise. It's like amazing how all of these elements are like connected.
Yeah.
What else do our sources highlight as like important for overall health and well-being?
Well, they both emphasize the importance of sleep and stress management.
Sleep.
Yeah.
It's so easy to sacrifice sleep when we're busy,
Right.
but it's so crucial for our physical and mental health.
Absolutely. The InflowFit method talks about sleep as a time for our bodies to like repair and rebuild. It's when our muscles recover, our hormones rebalance, and our brains consolidate memories.
If we're not getting enough sleep, we're not giving our bodies the time they need to like recover from all the movement and exercise we're doing.
Exactly, yeah. And chronic sleep deprivation can actually lead to weight gain, increased inflammation, and a higher risk of chronic diseases.
So how much sleep should we be aiming for?
Most adults need around 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night.
Okay.
And both sources provide like tips for improving sleep quality.
Okay.
Like creating a relaxing bedtime routine, making sure your bedroom is dark and quiet, and avoiding caffeine and alcohol before bed.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a difference in my like energy levels and mood when I prioritize sleep.
It's essential. And
Like-
what about stress?
Oh, stress. Yeah, it's like a part of modern life, but chronic stress can really like wreak havoc on our bodies.
Totally, yeah. The InflowFit method talks about how stress can lead to hormonal imbalances, increased inflammation, and even weight gain.
It's like a vicious cycle, right? Like you're stressed, so you don't sleep well, you don't eat well, you don't feel like moving your body, which just like makes the stress worse.
It can be. And that's why finding healthy ways to manage stress is so important.
So like what kind of stress management techniques do our sources recommend?
Well, they both highlight the importance of like mindfulness practices, like meditation, deep breathing exercises, and spending time in nature.
Yeah, I love those. I found that even just taking a few minutes each day to like disconnect from technology and focus on my breath makes a huge difference in my stress levels.
Yeah, it's amazing how powerful those like simple practices can be.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. It's It's incredible how interconnected all of these elements are. Movement, NEAT, diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management.
Yeah, it's truly a holistic approach to health and well-being.
Yeah.
And the Inflow Fit method emphasizes that it's not about perfection. It's about progress.
I love that. Yeah, it like takes the pressure off and makes it feel more achievable, right?
Totally, yeah.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making like sustainable changes that you can stick with over time.
Exactly. And it's about finding joy in the process.
Yes. It shouldn't feel like a punishment, right?
Right.
It should be about like celebrating your body and all the amazing things it can do.
I think that's a perfect segue to our next part.
Okay.
Where we're going to delve even deeper into like the specific benefits of strength training.
Okay.
And how it can help us like thrive at any age.
It's funny, isn't it? Like we often complicate things when it comes to health and fitness.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in like the latest fads and trends, we kind of forget about the fundamentals.
It's true. Sometimes we need to just step back and reconnect with like the simple things.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what both like the Inflow Fit method and the Healthline article do so well.
Mm-hmm.
They remind us that it's not about being perfect. It's about making sustainable changes that support our body's natural functions.
Yeah, it's about working with our biology and not against it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like we talked about before, our bodies have evolved to prioritize nutrient-dense foods.
Right.
It makes you realize how much our modern food environment like clashes with our evolutionary heritage.
Yeah, it's a real mismatch. And the InflowFit method has some really interesting insights into how this mismatch is like actually affecting our health.
What specifically caught your eye there?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was the book's critique of the calories in, calories out model.
Okay.
It argues that this like oversimplified approach can actually be detrimental to our health.
Yeah. I've always struggled with like calorie counting. It just feels so restrictive and unsustainable. And it makes you like hyper-focused on numbers
Right.
rather than the quality of the food you're eating.
Exactly. Yeah. And the InflowFit method suggests that focusing solely on calories can actually lead to nutrient deficiencies and hormonal imbalances.
Yeah.
It's not just about how much we eat, but also what we eat.
So it's about shifting our focus from calorie restriction to nutrient density.
Right.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
It's about nourishing our bodies with the building blocks they need to function optimally. And that's where the Mediterranean diet really comes in.
Okay, yeah. We've talked about the Mediterranean diet a bit, but can we unpack it even further?
Yeah.
Why is it considered like such a gold standard for health?
Well, in the Healthline article, it highlights a ton of research,
Yeah.
Showing the benefits of the Mediterranean diet. Studies have linked it to a lower risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes,
Wow.
certain types of cancer, and even Alzheimer's disease.
That's really impressive. But what makes it so healthy?
Well, it's the emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods, plenty of fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. It's a plant-forward approach with healthy fats from olive oil and fish.
I love that it incorporates so many like flavorful ingredients. It doesn't feel restrictive at all.
No, exactly. And the Healthline article gives some great tips for incorporating like more Mediterranean-style meals into your diet.
Okay.
They recommend things like, swapping out red meat for fish or poultry a couple of times a week, adding more beans and lentils to your meals, and snacking on nuts and seeds instead of processed snacks.
Those are great, like, practical tips.
Yeah.
And it's really about making gradual changes, right? You don't have to, like, overhaul your entire diet overnight.
No, absolutely. And the InflowFit method emphasizes like finding what works for you,
Right.
and making sustainable changes that you can stick with for the long haul.
I think that's like a key takeaway from this whole deep dive. It's about progress, not perfection.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's about finding that like balance
Yeah.
that supports your individual needs and preferences.
Totally. And it's about finding like joy in the process, right?
Yes.
Whether it's trying a new recipe or exploring a new hiking trail or simply taking a few minutes to like stretch and breathe deeply, it should feel good.
Yeah, that's such an important point. Like when we focus on the positive aspects of healthy living, it just becomes more sustainable and enjoyable.
Totally. And that kind of brings us to this final piece of the puzzle, which is mindset.
Right.
Both the InflowFit method and the Healthline article, they touch on the importance of like cultivating a positive mindset
Yeah.
when it comes to your health and fitness.
It's about shifting from a place of like self-criticism and deprivation
to a place of self-compassion and empowerment.
I love that. Yeah, it's about celebrating your body and all the amazing things it can do rather than focusing on its perceived flaws.
Totally. And it's about like embracing the journey, knowing that there will be ups and downs along the way.
It's not about being perfect. It's about, showing up for yourself consistently and making choices that support your overall well-being.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone,
Yeah.
Reach out for support from friends, family, or a health professional if you need it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the evolutionary mismatch, the exercise illusion, the power of nutrient-dense foods, the benefits of the Mediterranean diet, the importance of strength training, sleep, stress management, and even mindset.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. And I hope our listeners feel like inspired and empowered to take charge of their health. Yeah, me too. I know I've learned so much from this deep dive, and I'm excited to continue exploring these concepts and incorporating them into my own life.
Yeah, remember, it's all interconnected. By focusing on the fundamentals and making those gradual, sustainable changes, you can create a lifestyle that supports your health and well-being for years to come.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you learned something new. And until next time, keep moving, keep nourishing your body, and keep exploring the fascinating world of health and fitness.